Darth, Theorist, rise. What if Anakin Skywalker had a dog? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Anakin stands over the ruins of the Tusken village, his lightsaber coming down as he cuts down the last fleeing man. It's done. Not just the men, but the women, and the children too. He looks over at their corpses, supposing he should feel shame or regret for what he did. Yet he doesn't. Instead, all Anakin feels is anger and disgust at what these creatures have done, and the pain that he inflicted upon them is not enough. Smoke rises from the ruins of the village as he picks through it. Tears sting his eyes, as despite everything, he does not feel better. Not when his mother is gone, and nothing he can do will bring her back. Anakin throws his head back until his voice goes raw, but it doesn't help. And then he hears it, a faint crunch behind him, footsteps on the sand. He whirls, lightsaber held ready as he prepares to cut the intruder down, thinking it might be a surviving Tusken, but it is not one of the Sand People. Instead, a Massif. He doesn't lower his guard as he's seen those creatures in battle and expects them to pounce, but the beast doesn't attack. Instead, she pushes her muzzle against one of the Tuskens, a faint whimper escaping her throat when the figure doesn't stir. His heart drops in his chest as the creature begins to let out a cry, low and pained. The sound strums at Anakin's heartstrings as he doesn't just hear the pain, it echoes across him. It washes across him, and he drops to his knees, looking at the creature who stares at him, not angry, not vengeful, just pained, heartbroken.
I'm sorry.
The shame at last comes, not from the raiders, but from this creature as it throws its head back and mews. The Jedi drops to his knees, staring at his hand and letting his lightsaber drop to the ground. Yet when Anakin's words finally register, it slowly pads over to him. When its dark eyes stare at him, he can't control himself any longer and begins to sob. Tears flow freely from his eyes. His fingers clench into fists, and he squeezes his eyes shut. But then feels a tingle in his hands as the Massif rests her head against his hand and begins to lick it. For a long moment, the two of them remain there, the creature's howl mirroring Anakin's cries as he holds the dog tight. He doesn't know how long he is there, but it doesn't matter as the pair sit in the sand until all their tears are gone. When he is done, he climbs onto his speeder and looks at the Massif, which waits on the sand, starting to sit by. He stares at it, but then pats its back.
Come on, little guy. Hop on.
Meanwhile, on the farms, Padme and the others are starting to get worried about Anakin. He's been gone for more than a day, and she has started to begin gathering people for another search party when she hears the sound of a speeder in the distance. She rushes out and sees Anakin approaching, but her heart falls as she sees the bundle in the back of his speeder, and something else. Anakin's face is crestfallen when he climbs down and carries the body. Her arms immediately wrap around him and hold him tight.
Anakin, I'm sorry.
I know. I did everything. But I was too late.
Oh, Anakin, you can't blame yourself. It wasn't your fault.
I know. It was those savages. Padme. I made them pay. I killed them all. Not just the men, but the women. And the children, too. I felt happy when I did. But then I saw this Massif and everything turned to ash in my mouth. I realized I had just killed her family. I realized I'm no better.
No, Anakin. You're not a monster. You were being human. But you could have killed her too. Why didn't you?
I couldn't bring myself to do it. After all the pain I caused, to strike her, it felt wrong.
Then you came back to your senses. It sounds like she helped save you. She can stay here instead. Be their guard dog.
No. I'm taking her back with me to the Jedi Order. I was about to make a terrible mistake, but she stopped me. It's a sign.
Then what will you call her?
Shmi.
That's an excellent name.
He would have been happy to spend the next few weeks with Padme and Shmi, but that would not be possible as he receives a transmission from Obi-Wan calling them to Geonosis. The Massif seems happy at the prospect of going to another desert world, but Anakin and Padme were worried about what this might mean. As it turns out, this means a droid factory and the formation of a secessionist movement. While Anakin, Padme, and later the Jedi Strike Force attempt to stop it, their droid army proves to be too much. The only things that save them are the arrival of the clone troopers, who drive back the CIS forces. Throughout this battle, Shmi proves to be more able than expected. Though many animals would be frightened by the sight of blaster bolts whizzing past them, she darts fearlessly through their lines, ramming into droids and knocking them aside, protecting wounded Jedi and clones while barking out. The sound of her voice seemed to have a revitalizing effect on the clones. When they hear it and see the little hound fighting their foes alongside them, men seem to rally back, and together they drive the droids from Geonosis. With the arrival of the clone army and the leadership of the Jedi, the battle ends in a victory for the Republic, but it also leaves many questions. One of them is what to do with Shmi. The Jedi Council gathers in the temple, Anakin and Obi-Wan standing before them, all while Shmi playfully tugs at Master Yarl Poof's robe.
Quit that, you mutt!
Young Skywalker, I must say the Council has never quite had to deal with a situation like this, debating on whether or not we should allow you to keep a pet. I understand it as a regular, but Shmi guided me through a difficult time, the loss of my mother. Without her, I would have made a grave mistake and gone down a path I'm not proud of. I believe she was sent by the Force to steer me on that right path.
That is an interesting theory, young one. But still a theory. This animal may simply have been a creature you encountered. Besides, you say you found it after losing your mother. Are you not certain that this is not simply you replacing one attachment with another?
Not to mention, this is a Jedi temple, not some petting zoo. We cannot simply keep this animal here. Are we supposed to simply take care of it? The Massif can be disruptive, destructive, and undisciplined. I will train her, and she'll stay with me, travel with me. Besides, check the Jedi Code. I bet you can't find anything in there that says Jedi can't keep a dog. He's right. There isn't anything in the Jedi Code that says a dog can't serve in the Jedi Order.
Shmi approaches, and Yoda begins to kick his feet, letting out a faint whimper. She cocks her head to the side and shows those big dark eyes.
Still, cautious we must be. Dangerous it is to have an animal in place. And attachments, stop that. Tickles it does. Yes, the dog must. Keep it safe. We should keep it. Good for moralities.
Soon, Shmi plops herself onto Yoda's lap and rests her head against his shoulder. The Jedi Master smiles and strokes her head, watching as her spine tingles at his touch. Seeing that Yoda has spoken, the rest of the Jedi Council has little choice but to agree. However, soon enough, Anakin and Shmi march off to battle. Many are concerned about the dog's effect on discipline and order within the Republic Army, but that thankfully proves to be false, as Shmi not only improves morale and proves to be far more than a simple mascot. The Massif travels to the battlefield, where she carries medical supplies on her back, taking them to wounded clones, or even dragging them back to safety. She sniffs out explosives and allows bomb squad troopers to disarm them, and sometimes even fights alongside their army. She fearlessly runs through the blaster fire and bites into droids, shaking them around and barreling into them. Her reputation soon grows such that other legions begin adopting dogs into their own units to help with this. While the 501st see her as their lucky charm, some Jedi begin to sense something unnatural about her. She doesn't simply appear to be lucky or gifted, but they begin to suspect that she might have a connection with the Force. Reports filter in on how she managed to detect enemy traps with her senses in ways that should be impossible. Other things, critically wounded clones whom she saves seem to make sudden recoveries, and many report a calming effect when she's around. During one such battle on Sullust, Anakin and Ahsoka find themselves amid a ferocious urban clash. The clones try to advance through the enemy fire, but find the CIS forces entrenched behind the ruins of a town. Blaster turrets and cannons rain down as the clones crouch behind the rubble.
They've dug in deeper than a sarlacc. How are we supposed to get through this?
I hate to admit it, but Rex is right. Those turrets have us pinned. I doubt we'd be able to block all those blaster bolts if we try to move forward.
Anakin surveys the ruins, seeing a path forming in front of him.
Not through them. Above. Shmi, time to play fetch.
The Massif appears from their camp and barrels towards Anakin, who throws a droid popper with a delayed timer. He then begins gesturing through the ruins, and the dog seems to understand everything. She takes the droid popper in her mouth and leaps out of the house through a hole in the roof. From there, she leaps from building to building, moving in a direction the droids do not expect. They turn their weapons on her, but she's already moving. Shmi disappears inside another building and then appears out the door, running through an alley, then hops onto a ruined speeder to help her reach one of the droid bunkers, where she drops the grenade. A moment later, there is a loud hum as the weapon goes off and the droids go down. She lands on the ground and then barks excitedly. The sound of it seems to revitalize the clones, who all rush forward. Anakin and Ahsoka both join in, and the droid forces begin to collapse immediately. Yet, one sniper manages to pick up their weapon and takes aim. The droid spots Shmi as she circles a squad leader who gives her some scratches. The blaster bolt takes her at the flank, and Shmi flops to the ground with a yelp. Clones cry out and open fire on the droid, which is swiftly gunned down. Anakin runs over to Shmi, who howls in pain, thrashing on the ground. He drops to the ground as Ahsoka begins to apply medicine, while he massages her neck to try and calm her down. They eventually manage to clean the wound and stabilize her, but Anakin refuses to leave her side until they reach the Jedi Temple. It is quiet at night, its vast halls humming faintly with the currents of the Force. In the infirmary chamber, Shmi lies curled on the healing cot, her flank still bound in bacta wrappings. Her chest rises shallowly, ears twitching with every breath. Anakin sits beside her, his hands restless on his knees. Ahsoka hovers in the doorway, anxious but unwilling to intrude. Instead, she chews on her fingertips. The door slides open. Yoda enters, leaning on his cane. His gaze softens as he approaches the Massif.
Strong spirit this one has. Suffered much, but not broken.
Can you help her, Master?
Do what I can. I shall. But rest you must, Skywalker.
I don't feel comfortable leaving her here.
Trust me, you must. Besides, wake you if something happens. I will.
Anakin looks at the Jedi Master concerned, but also recognizing that Yoda has helped him in the past. He cannot bring himself to distrust him, and slowly makes his way out. Yoda nods, climbing onto a stool beside the cot. He rests his three-fingered hand on Shmi's forehead, and his eyes fall shut. A low hum fills the chamber. The same steady tone Anakin has heard 1,000 times in Yoda's meditations. Through the Force, light spreads into the creature's body. The wound knits, bone and sinew aligning again, flesh mending faster than nature allows. Shmi exhales a long, trembling sigh. Her tail thumps faintly against the cot. But Yoda feels something more. Beneath the injury, deeper than the body, a current swirls, bright, patient, and anchored to the Force in a way unlike any beast has ever touched before. It is not just instinct, it is awareness, compassion, loyalty, attachment. Powerful she is, and bound she is to Skywalker and to the Force. He strokes her head slowly, a smile tugging at his lips as her spines relax under his touch. Out loud, he murmurs,
Never seen have I one of your kind channel the Force. Fond of your master, you are. Protective. Yes. Much to study here.
When he wakes Anakin, Yoda smiles.
Walk she soon will. Travel, too. But remember, Skywalker, more than a dog she is. Guide she may be. Anchor, too.
Anakin frowns, unsure of the meaning, but simply gathers Shmi into his arms when she stirs and struggles to rise. But she will rise again. It takes several more days of rest before she is well enough to travel. In that time, Anakin paces the floor and wonders what shall happen now. While he always knew about the danger of taking Shmi to the battlefield, his dog had always seemed immortal there. She never slowed down, never feared enemy attacks, and certainly never hid from a fight. But one blaster bolt was all it took to nearly kill her. Even as they walk now, you can see there is some lingering pain. One person who notices this is Palpatine. That dog has become quite the legend, even in the higher ranks of the Republic. But while some see the good publicity and morale raise it brings, he sees Anakin's attachment and the potential it might bring. He invites Anakin over to his office and smiles at him.
Welcome, my boy. I see that Shmi is recovering well. There were many senators who were worried she might not recover enough to serve in active duty.
Thankfully, her injuries were not that bad. Although, I will admit, I am worried about sending her back into battle.
I understand. It must have been terrifying to see her injuries. For all her bravery, it is difficult to remember she is just an animal, and one so fragile at that.
I know. And I know she means a lot to so many people. I can't just leave her in the back.
Of course. But perhaps you do not have to fear her fate. There are ways to keep those you care about most alive. But those powers might be considered unnatural.
Powers like that exist?
Anakin's brow furrows. The words sting at wounds too fresh. He thinks of his mother, of Shmi wounded and yelping in his arms. His fists tighten. Yet as they speak, Shmi's ears begin to perk up, and she moves towards them, narrowing her eyes suspiciously at them.
Have you ever heard the tale of Darth Plagueis, the...
Hey, stop that!
Shmi tugs at the hem of Palpatine's robe with her teeth, growling softly.
I can show you.
The dog barks, sharp and loud, echoing in the chamber. Anakin startles, heat rushing to his face. Then he feels her starting to paw at his legs as if begging for food.
Shmi, stop!
But she doesn't. She paws at Palpatine's leg and looks at him with big, mocking eyes. He tries to shoo her away.
As I was saying, have you ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Anakin begins to look at him with renewed interest, while Shmi decides to take a drastic action. She climbs onto his couch and lifts her leg up. Palpatine freezes mid-sentence. His yellow eyes flash. Anakin turns crimson, scooping Shmi into his arms.
No, that's fresh Rancor leather.
I'll get her out of here. Sorry, Chancellor.
He bolts before Palpatine can respond. The dog wriggling happily in his grip, tail wagging.
Bad, Shmi. You only do that outside. Or on Mace Windu's speeder.
Palpatine remains seated in silence. His smile has vanished. For the first time in years, his careful words have been drowned out. The alarms of Coruscant wail through the night. Republic gunships roar between spires as citizens scatter below, fleeing a nightmare that prowls the upper levels. Evacuations are being called out to the civilians in the city, warning them of a possible Sith weapon. But as the surrounding area is cleared, Anakin, Ahsoka, and a detachment of the 501st descend onto the buildings they said the artifact is being moved to. According to intel, it is owned by Wat Tambor. Anakin strides forward, Ahsoka at his side, Shmi padding close with her ears alert. The dog growls low in her throat.
She smells something.
Yeah, trouble.
They storm the building, rushing inside with blasters firing. A handful of security droids are there to protect the item. They waste no time and return fire, turning the small warehouse into a firefight. However, in the end, they don't have the numbers to halt the Republic forces and are soon beaten back. As the last of the droids are destroyed, they approach a shipping container that was left in the back of the building and where the droids made their last stand. The container creaks open with a hiss. Inside, nestled among crates of scrap metal, lies a small jagged idol, obsidian carved into the shape of a beast's skull. It hums with malignant energy.
That's it.
But before he can reach it, the idol flares red, like an ember catching flame. Waves of dark energy surge outward. Anakin throws up his hand, the force flowing through him as a shield. Ahsoka mirrors him, both bracing against the shockwave. The clones all gasp, trying to protect themselves with their hands. Instead, Shmi does it by rushing in front of them, and Shmi takes the full brunt. She yelps, staggering, then collapses with a howl. Her body convulses, limbs twisting, her frame growing, mutating. Spines jet from her back, stretch and sharpen. Her eyes glow a hellish crimson. In moments, she is no longer the loyal hound at Anakin's side, but a towering beast, a nightmare pulled from the depths of the Sith.
Shmi!
The monster slams into the nearest platoon, scattering armored bodies like dolls. Speeders careen off the platform as troopers scream and make way. One trooper fires and tries to stop her, but she throws the bike aside and leaps towards the upper floors.
Sky Guy, she's heading for the city.
Anakin's heart pounds. He grips the railing as a gunship picks them up. Footage shows her rampaging across Coruscant streets, tails smashing through speeders, claws raking towers. Clones open fire, but blaster bolts only enrage her further. Anakin swallows hard. His mind screams one truth. This is my fault.
Orders, sir.
Set blaster to stun. I want her alive.
What was once Shmi, the loyal Massif, is now a hulking shadow of herself. Her eyes blaze red, her scales ripple with unnatural growth, and her bark is replaced with a bone-shattering roar. She barrels through traffic lanes, sending speeders tumbling. Clones fire stun rounds in vain. Some are hurled aside by a single sweep of her claws. They form a protective cordon, as evacuation orders are called, to protect civilians. These troopers do everything they can to try and bring Shmi down, but the dog's mind is now in a fury.
General Skywalker, we can't hold her back.
A nearby gunship's doors open behind them. Master Windu and Kit Fisto rush out to join the fight.
Skywalker, stand down. This creature is no longer your companion. It's a threat. Let go of your attachment and strike it down before it can escape our barrier.
Strike her down?
It is difficult, I understand, but it must be done.
He leaps after Kit Fisto and rushes at Shmi. His lightsaber flashes, but the Massif is faster. She dodges his strikes and tries raking her claws against him. Mace barely rolls aside as Kit jabs his weapon forward. It grazes her side and leaves her howling in pain. Shmi suddenly slams both her front paws down and creates a shockwave that leaves the two jumping back. They are back on her in an instant, lightsabers flashing in a whirlwind of battle. Anakin freezes, his saber quivering. Strike her down. The very thought shreds him, but Yoda joins them, hobbling forward.
Not lost she is. A Skywalker is not lost. Save her you can. Powerful in the Force she is.
Shmi roars and lunges. Clones scatter, but Mace holds his ground and tries to push her back with the Force. In response, she lets out a roar that leaves him shaking back too. Anakin doesn't retreat. He runs towards her, vaults through the air and lands astride her back. The beast thrashes, snapping at buildings, clawing at the sky. Anakin closes his eyes and drives deep into the Force. Inside, he sees her. Shmi, smaller, broken, caged within a storm of shadow. Around her coils the darkness, the same voice that whispered him in his dreams. Power, rage, control. He could take it, harness it, dominate her will, and bend her back into obedience. Or better yet, use that power to ensure she lives forever. For a moment, he is tempted to save her and bring her back, but then he remembers. The desert, the Tusken camp, her mournful cry as she nudged at the fallen, his shame, his tears, her warm muzzle pressing against his hand. She had stopped him from going too far, simply by being.
I won't take from you. Not again.
With a roar that is more pain than anger, he pushes the darkness away, not seizing it, not wielding it, but casting it out. His love for her blazes like a beacon. The shadows recoil, shatter, and dissolve into nothing. The monster shrinks, the scales fading, the eyes dimming back to their warm brown. Shmi collapses on the durasteel platform, whimpering. Her body is small again, trembling, but alive. Anakin falls beside her, clutching her close as the city grows silent around them. The Jedi lower their blades. Even Mace hesitates, lips tightening with something caught between disapproval and reluctant awe. Then Shmi lifts her head, sniffs the air, and trots weakly toward one of the fallen droids from the smuggler skirmish. She paws at its chest, barking insistently. Rex kneels, prying the droid's databank loose. His eyes widen at the data on the screen.
General, this manifest, it's not separatist. The shipping records trace back to a warehouse, registered to Chancellor Palpatine.
The words hang heavy in the night. Anakin's eyes flicker with confusion, then suspicion. He looks at Shmi, who sits faithfully beside the droid, tail tapping the floor. Soon enough, this strike team regroups and approaches the Senate building where Palpatine stands in his office. His back is facing them as he stares at the window, pondering what might happen next. Yet those thoughts are interrupted as the Jedi appear, igniting their lightsabers. Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, Ahsoka, and Anakin all ready their weapons. Anakin throws the droid datapad at his feet.
Care to explain?
Anakin, my boy. Surely you don't believe this propaganda, do you? It is madness to even consider. Why would I have such an artifact in my possession?
Maybe you can answer that, Chancellor. If not us, then the judges who will try you.
No, I don't think I will.
He suddenly whirls around and unleashes a lightning bolt. Mace strains against it, blade catching bolt after bolt. Kit Fisto takes the blow and stumbles back. He falls to the ground, breathing heavily as Ahsoka rushes in front of him to protect him. The Chancellor ignites his lightsaber and rushes at them. When Ahsoka moves to block his path, Sidious hurls her aside with a contemptuous flick of his hand. Anakin remains standing firm, Shmi at his side, The Massif growls low, her teeth bared, fur bristling with static.
Anakin, don't you see? The Jedi want to chain you. They always have. But me, I gave you freedom. I gave you power. Together we could have ruled the galaxy.
Anakin's grip on his lightsaber tightens. He looks down at Shmi. She stares back, eyes full of the same loyalty she gave him the night they met, the night she kept him from falling.
I don't need your power.
He rushes at Palpatine, who blocks his strike while Mace takes this opportunity to move from behind. Palpatine dances through their attacks and grits his teeth as they both come at him. Weapons flash, but the Chancellor intercepts each blow. He pushes them aside and presses him back. Though old, he manages to keep pace with them. That is, until Shmi comes from below and bites his leg. He screams out and Mace shoves him back. Kit rises to his feet and tries to slash at him, but Palpatine ducks under the blow and faces Ahsoka, who whirls at his feet. Palpatine gasps and tries to counter with a burst of lightning, but she parries this and eventually breaks this off when Mace and Kit descend upon him. Their attacks rain down while Ahsoka moves around them, her lightsaber lashing out whenever they can find an opening. Meanwhile, Anakin and Shmi remain in the sidelines. He hurls his lightsaber through the air. Palpatine sneers, raising his hand to catch it mid-flight.
Foolish boy.
But it never reaches him. Shmi leaps, her jaw snapping shut around the hilt. She lands between Anakin and Sidious, growling deep and fierce. For a heartbeat, Sidious falters, actually falters, at the sight. Then Shmi lunges. The Massif barrels into him with all the force of the desert storms she was born from. Then Palpatine's mocking laughter ends in silence as his head tumbles away from his body. The Senate chamber falls quiet. The crackle of lightning dies. The shadows dissolve. Mace looks at the dog, who snaps off the lightsaber and begins to pet it.
Good dog.
Shmi then bites his hand.
You mother... Nope. I suppose I deserve that.
With that, the Chancellor's reign comes to an end, and the datapad containing the false flag operations is leaked to the Senate and the Jedi. Many quickly vote him out and begin installing a new leader, but Anakin pays little attention to that as he focuses on Shmi, who is granted a medal for her bravery. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.